Hello, welcome to All Things Odd. I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips.
And I'm Dr. Hailey Guyette.
All right, so we have a fun topic for you today, and we're going to be doing something live. And so we've also got, it looks like they're ready. We've also got Dr. Galloway here, and also Mary Kate Donegan. So we have them muted just so that we don't get a weird feedback. So like they could probably be saying whatever they want to, but we're not going to be able to hear them right now. But today we're going to be doing something fun. So before we get there, though, I'm going to have Hailey talk a little bit about our YouTube channel. So hold on, let me make sure I can pull this up. And there it is. Sorry, forgot to have that. Okay, so I want Hailey to talk a little bit about our YouTube channel just to make sure that you guys know that we're also on YouTube and that you guys can do that. So, and you guys can follow there. Okay, so let me pull it up so that you can kind of see it. And here we go.
So we go live every single Thursday at 12:30 Mountain Standard Time. This is just a quick preview of our YouTube page. We have all of our past videos and all of our soon-to-come videos sorted into different categories here. Very easy to find. So you can go through, binge watch all of our YouTube videos. And make sure you also subscribe. Hit that little bell to make sure you get notifications about when we do go live. It's here on YouTube. That way you can send it to those family members, friends, coworkers, anyone who does not have Facebook, but we are also on Facebook as well.
Yeah. All right. And we are growing in our subscribers. So thank you very much. Okay. So we're going to take that out. And I feel really bad. I think we should let them talk. So we're going to say hello to Dr. Galloway and Mary Kate. Okay. I think I turned.
Yeah, we were telling jokes to each other, but glad you can hear us now.
Yes. And okay, so what we're going to be doing is we are actually going to be taking some ear impressions. This was a topic that Mary Kate was super passionate about, and I was like, I don't know, and we decided to go along with it, and so we're super excited to do this. Plus, Mary Kate also needs a listening tube that we can make a custom piece for, so we're going to just do it live, and so we're going to talk, Hailey and I are going to talk a little bit about it, and we're going to have Dr. Galloway and Mary Kate to do the actual impression and show you. So we're going to talk about the process first of how to get an ear impression. And so first of all, so while we talk through the process, we'll have Dr. Galloway and Mary Kate actually demonstrate the process. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is you want to look in the ear with an or do otoscopic inspection. So Dr. Galloway is looking in Mary Kate's ear to just check for different things. So what she's doing is she's looking for ear canal turns and landmarks. She's looking to inspect for the size of the otoblock that she's going to be using, as well as if there's any wax buildup at all. And so she's got some different sizes of otoblocks. I'm not too sure if you can kind of show it or not, coming closer to the camera. Yeah. So those are different size otoblocks to see what size would be best for Mary Kate's ear. And we've got large, medium, small, and then we've even got these little baby ones that are cotton. And they either make it, so all the way to the right is that cotton one. So they make foam and cotton. And so each audiologist has preferences of which one they like better. I like foam. What do you normally like?
We're going to do this one.
I like foam, but foam can also turn in weird ways you have to be careful of. But cotton are a lot harder to push in. I also had a classmate actually in grad school, and she hated the sound of cotton. So she could not have cotton in her ears, versus some people don't like foam in the ears because it's scratchy. So I also find that some patients also have preferences.
Got it. What about you two? Foam or cotton?
I have always used foam just because working with you, that's what we've had. But at UNC, we always used cotton. And I've had ear impressions taken on myself with cotton, and I hate the sound. So it's interesting that you said that about cotton, because I tell patients that that's the worst part of the ear impression is the sound of it getting down their ear. And I know that if they have some hearing loss, it's probably not going to be as loud as it is to me. But that's kind of funny because I don't know that I've had foam put down my ear to like compare the.
Yeah. What about you, Mary Kate? Foam or cotton?
I've only ever used foam, so I guess I used cotton when we had a baby come in that we had to do it on, but at my school we only had foam, so.
Yeah, and I like foam. I just feel like it squishes down a little bit better. So they're using the gray one, which is the medium.
Yeah, I went with the medium gray, which is kind of my go-to
Okay.
for a lot of patients.
Okay. So, all right. So if you're an audiologist and you're tuning in, we want to know your vote, foam or cotton, and just put it in the comments.
Light here.
Okay. So then Dr. Galloway is using an Audiolight to be able to push that foam all the way down. Usually we do it past the second bend of the ear canal. And I usually tell people, like, it's usually further than where the hearing aid or the earplug, whatever we're making, or the ear mold is going to sit. But the manufacturer likes to see the curves and likes to see, you know, where to make the bore or where the hole is or whatever it is in what we're making. And so she's putting that in. And then she looks like she's going to be starting to use the material. Now let's talk about impression material. So the impression material that Dr. Galloway is using is a silicone material that's gun. And it's funny because some of them are named yellow stuff. Some of them are named pink stuff. And when Dr. Galloway and I used to do some MusiCares impressions for musicians, like I would always joke, like it's super scientific, you know, the name of the silicone material. It's silicone material, but they call it pink stuff or yellow stuff. Back in the day, I used to have to use powder and liquid, and there's still audiologists. There's still audiologists that like powder or liquid. And so you would have to use this cup, pour the powder in, pour the liquid in, and then stir it up, and then form it real quickly, and then shove it down into like a syringe, and then use a syringe and put it in the ear. There are also, I believe that there are singles. So instead of using a gun that automatically pushes the silicone together and mixes, I used to have to use my hands and knead it together and then shove it down in a syringe and then put it in the ear too. So, so again, things have changed. And there's preferences. So like for me, silicone gun, I'm like, what do you vote for?
Silicone gun a million times over. I don't like the feeling of mixing the two on my hands, but I also prefer the yellow stuff because it sets up pink. Yeah, it sets up quicker than the pink one.
Yeah, I like the yellow stuff over the pink stuff as well. Okay, Dr. Galloway.
I like mixing it with my hands. I know that that's the unpopular opinion, but it makes me feel like a little scientist.
Okay, so Mary Kate likes to play with the silicone.
Having to mix it and put it in the syringe, because then you have to clean out the syringe, and then if somebody doesn't, then it gets like really hard to clean out. So I like the gun, but I like the pink gun because it's higher viscosity. And I learned that when you're making earplugs or something that you're worried about the attenuation of sound, that higher viscosity impression material, and using a bite block, which we didn't use, but I have one that we can show.
Yeah, so show the gun closer and then also the bite block. Yep, so super easy. So it just mixes all together.
And then it mixes here in the tip. And then this is a bite block. So it's I'll show you how it's used, but you kind of turn it like this. So it props your mouth open, because when your mouth is open, it changes the shape of your ear canal. And so thinking about like a singer on stage, their mouth is open pretty much the entire time they're performing. And so if you're making their in-ear monitor based on a closed mouth, that's just not accurate to what you're doing. And so bite blocks can be used too.
Yeah. So okay, so Mary Kate, I don't know if you can get closer to the camera so that we can kind of see what it looks like a little bit closer. Yeah. So if you can kind of see, perfect. Yeah. So Dr. Galloway did it really quickly, but that is the silicone in Mary Kate's ear. Again, with that Audiolight pushing in that Audiblock. And so we're waiting for it to harden. So typically it takes like 5 minutes or so. So we're going to just sit and chat while it's hardening. And that way Dr. Galloway can just kind of pull it out after that.
And also once you start to put the material, once it starts to mix in the tip, then it hardens. So that's why once I started getting it out, I just had to go because now it's all hardened in the tip and you can't get it out. But I think the gun is really preferable to having to like clean up a whole bunch of stuff, but everybody's got their own favorite. So I've only done the powder and liquid once in graduate school. Like they had us do it just to appreciate our lives.
So sometimes it's with the times, you know, with changing, but I think there's still audiologists out there that prefer the powder liquid. So again, if you're watching and you're an audiologist, we want your vote. powder and liquid or silicone? And if it's a silicone, which one do you like, the gun, or do you still like to mix it like Mary Kate? Okay, so so that's the ear impression. And Dr. Galloway, she had to fill some landmarks, making sure that the material goes all the way down to the second bend. And then also, as she's filling the concha area of her ear, kind of making sure that it goes up on the top to get like maybe a little helix on the top part as well. And just kind of making sure that everything is filled up, even though the earpiece may not be that big. We're just going overboard so that way they can look at the landmarks when they're making it. Okay, so as we're sitting here and we're going to come back to the process, let's talk about what could go wrong. I think that's kind of fun. So let's talk a little bit about what could go wrong with an ear impression. So first of all, as you saw Dr. Galloway just kind of look into the ears, looking for, ear canal turns and landmarks. Some ear canals are like triangular in shape. And so they literally get smaller and smaller as you go in. Some of them are super curvy and windy, and then some of them actually balloon out. Yeah. So it's really, if they've had ear surgery and they've had a mastoidectomy, then sometimes as you're going into the ear canal, then it gets larger. And if you can think about what we're doing, if that's the case, then it's going to be very difficult if you don't pack that otoblock in there and you're trying to get it out, then it's bigger. After it hardens, it's bigger. To try to get it out that small canal, it might be very difficult. So you've got to be very careful about that as well. And then also, I guess it depends on the placement of the otoblocks. Do you need to go larger or smaller? So you can kind of tell as you're pushing it in with the otolight, if you see any areas that are not filled, you might want to pull it back out and put a bigger otoblock in, or sometimes I'll put 2 in there. Or if you're kind of pushing in the otoblock with the otolight and like the person jumps, or it's like you're not getting it deep to where the second bend is, then you might want to take down the size or pull apart that foam a little bit to make it a little bit smaller. So who wants to talk about what happens when people actually cough when you're taking it?
Oh,
Mary Kate.
Go ahead.
Well, that was me nose going. I don't want to say what happened.
Oh, I thought you told yourself.
No, it's the facial nerve, right? So the facial nerve.
Vagus nerve. It's the vagus nerve.
Vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve kind of runs right underneath the ear canal. And we actually had a pediatric hearing aid patient, and every time she put her hearing aid in, she got like one sad tear. And she wasn't sad, but that was just the stimulation. She would get like one tear. I've had some patients who cough when you put the otoblock in, or people like, their nose is like running or something, or they're just, having some other kind of physical, stimulation from it.
Yeah, sometimes so it's that vagus nerve that runs into the ear canal and it tickles the back of your throat. So for some people, they will cough, they'll have that tear or whatever, they'll jump. And so it's funny though, sometimes I've got the biggest men that come in and they're the ones that are the most uncomfortable. And then these tiny little older ladies, like you're able to kind of push it and you're like, are you okay? Are you good? As you're pushing it in, and they're like totally fine. So I don't know if you guys have noticed that trend, but like I kind of laugh inside because I've noticed that trend.
Yes. Yeah. So Dr. Phillips and we did Bohemian Nights New West Festival. I don't know what's going on with that currently, but we used to do it where we would take ear impressions for music cares, and then they provided some hearing protection for the musicians. But that's kind of the same thing, because we saw a lot of men, and it was like a lot of like tough, like band members, and they were all a little bit anxious about getting the ear impression.
Yeah. So in addition to what could go wrong too, the last thing would be like, as Dr. Galloway takes out the ear impression, sometimes we always inspect it afterwards, but we're looking for those landmarks, right? Are they underfilled? Then we might have to do it again. Sometimes you'll have bubbles in the silicone. Like it's nothing that the operator did wrong, but it might have just been a bubble that was in there and then it underfilled it. And so if you send that into the manufacturer, you might not get a good fit of whether depending on what you're making, an earplug or an ear mold or a hearing aid itself too. All right. So then we're going to talk a little bit more about when would I need to get ear impressions. So let's have Mary Kate talk about like, when would you think that someone would need to get an ear impression?
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of different reasons that you would get an ear mold impression made. The most common that we usually see is for hearing aids. And so when people's hearing loss gets to a certain point, we put ear molds on to kind of close up the fit of their hearing aids so that they can get more amplification. And so that's just a different, a lot of people have the domes, and then as your hearing loss progresses, we get the ear molds made, and I think Dr. Galloway's looking for one. I recently just did one on someone who wanted to get an inner ear monitor made for himself because he just is a musician on the side. So he wanted to get one made.
We've had some podcast hosts come in to have in-ear monitors made. There has been sort of an influx in people coming in for us to take the impression and that's it. Like they want to order it from some online company or something, which is interesting for us because it's different, but it's totally something that we do. And so a lot of those people I notice are ordering in-ear monitors either for music at church or like a podcast or something like that.
Yeah.
So I have a dummy hearing aid that I can kind of show. So this is just a dummy hearing aid here. This is what we can put on the hearing aid. So it's not a full ear mold. This is a custom fit tip on the end of a hearing aid. So for somebody who had that more severe loss or somebody that has trouble getting the hearing aid to stay in, we can take a full impression like we're doing of Mary Kate's ear, and they're only going to make just the very end of it with this so that that piece would be customized to go into her ear on a hearing aid.
Yeah. So we've got the ones that go behind the ear is what Dr. Galloway is showing in that custom piece, or you've also got custom hearing aids as well.
Yes. And I've got some of those I can show too here. So custom hearing aids kind of come in different form factors as far as how much of the ear they're going to fill up. So I'll kind of compare two together so that you can see. This one that I'm going to show first, this is the teeniest one. So it looks so small to hold up there. This is an IIC. So it is the very smallest custom hearing aid. You see it has an R on there. That's how you would tell your right and left apart. So this is the very, very tiniest that you can get a custom hearing aid. It doesn't have a handle on it, but this is an ITE. So we'll compare the two. This is more of a standard size, and a lot of the new technology like rechargeability and having Bluetooth, being wireless with your phone, you have to go with a little bit bigger form factor like the ITE. But they can make any of these kind of products based on the same ear impression. So this one is kind of between the two. This red one is called a CIC, so completely in the canal, IIC, which is just totally in the canal. And then this other one that I've showed is ITE, so just a little bit bigger. And these being rechargeable is kind of new. I mean, that's not really something that's been around for that long. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. So hearing aids, we've talked about like earplugs, musicians' earplugs. We've talked about podcasters and musicians that are coming in for in-ear monitors. And then that's what we're making for Mary Kate. So basically what it is, it's a listening tube. So Dr. Galloway is putting it in her ears. Hailey has one too. But it's something that, so when you've got hearing aids that are coming in and we need to check them out and listen to them, typically you have ones that you can either use a stethoscope looking type of thing, or you can use a listening tube where you have a custom piece that fits in your ear. And most audiologists do have this listening tube, and then they fit in your ear, and then you've got the tube, and then we can put the hearing aid in the tube so we can listen and see if there's any intermittency, if there is, if it's dead, right? And so we can listen to it and check it out. And so it's always good to have an audiologist to have that listening tube. So that's what we're using Mary Kate's impression for today, is to send it in to get her a listening tube, which is great. And then we've also got pilots that come in, maybe for kids that are getting swim plugs, but then also, or kids or adults that get swim plugs. I think a lot of people that, even older people that go swimming and that is their exercise and they're doing laps, they like to have swim plugs just to keep the water out of their ears. And then also, I wanted to talk about dry ear precaution. And so because we're more of the medical side of audiology too, sometimes we see a lot of people that have had ear infections that have tubes in their ears. And so it's recommended for them to have what they call dry ear precaution. And so we are making earplugs for while they have the tubes and they're taking showers and they're going swimming and things like that. And so we make earplugs for that as well. And it's very possible that if you do have something from a physician, an ear, nose, and throat physician that's telling you that you have to have dry ear precaution, sometimes your insurance can pay for that. So you've got to look into your insurance benefit for that. And if it's something that, your doctor said you need this. So most of the times it's not, but there are those cases where if you have to have dry ear precaution because you've had some sort of ear surgery, then it's possible that they can cover for your earplugs as well. All right. So
And they do make cool earplugs that are floatable. So for swimming, like if you lose them, they will actually float to the surface, which is kind of cool. And they come in like this more slick material that has more fun colors and stuff too. So they're a little bit different for swimming than they would be for like shooting or something like that.
Yeah.
And then for like some of those swim plugs and some ear molds, we can choose a bunch of fun different colors depending on what we are choosing the purpose for. So like mine has glitter in it, which I love, but now there's like stripes and swirls and so many fun colors you can kind of pick from.
I'm excited to pick my design out. So.
Yeah. And then the ones that are swim plugs too, they can come with a, or actually any of them can come with like a cord that attaches one to the other, and you can clip it onto something, whether it's a bathing suit or if you're getting it for industrial use, you can clip it onto the back of your shirt. So in case something like flips out or you want to take them out because you're going in for a lunch break and you want to take your earplugs out, you don't have to put them away. You just take them out and they go around your neck and they stay there, and then you can put them back in. So all kinds of things. If you're thinking about getting earplugs, let us know, because we can always figure out what would work best for you. Okay, so we should be pretty close now. Okay,
it's done.
All right, so how we check if it's done is I do the old school, like stick your fingernail in it.
You poke it.
Yeah, you poke it, and you can kind of feel the hardness of it. But if you stick your fingernail in it too, then you can tell if the material itself, if it doesn't leave that little mark, then it's done. Or if you're pushing on it and like it sinks in just a little bit, you've got to wait a little bit longer. So it should be done. And the best way to take them out is to sometimes twist and pull upwards. And then we're going to have Dr. Galloway do that. And then we also want to look in with otoscopic inspection again with the otoscope, just to make sure that there's nothing left behind. And so she can show you what the inside of your ear looks like. So that is Mary Kate's inside of her ear. Looks great. So you can see how the impression material went all the way up to that foam block, and you can see the curves of it, and everything looks really good. And so that is the inside of somebody's ear, just so that you can see that. At some point, we're going to do, Dr. Guyette recommended we show the video otoscope too. So we were going to do that, but we didn't have time to set that up. So maybe we'll do that on another episode as well, because that's another way to look into the ear is with the video otoscope to see what the inside of the ear looks like. But this is really cool because you actually look at the structure of the ear canal and see how the shape is. And oddly enough, like Dr. Galloway and I did an episode a while back, that your ears are not shaped the same all the time either, right? Then the one could be, the volume could be slightly different from the other side, or the curves could be different. So it's not odd that your two ear canals are not shaped the same either. All right.
Yeah, one of my ear canals goes straight up on one side. So if you look at my impressions and hold them together, like one canal goes very upward, which is
interesting.
Something I also just thought of is when I was in grad school too, we got a chance to use a 3D. So a 3D way to make an ear impression. So basically we went in, it kind of looks like the gun for the ear impression, and it takes landmarks of the ear and it actually uses a laser to scope the ear, and then it creates like a digital copy of the 3D impression that's sent directly to the manufacturer, and then they can make it based off of that.
Yeah, that's really cool too.
Yeah, the one that we saw, Natalie and I saw one at a conference, and I actually sat down at their booth and had them do it on my ear because I know my ear can be a little bit tricky. And so I wanted to kind of see how the image looks, and it was really cool. There's like a balloon on the end of it that actually kind of like fills up inside your ear to help with like the volume measurements and everything. And then it looked just like a whole bunch of red dots all over the inside of the canal, and all of those red dots were data points. And so anyway, they were like showing us the digitally rendered copy of it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. All right. So that is typically the end of our show. But again, reminding audiologists, if you're tuning in, that we want to hear your vote, that we put out some different questions and different polls out, because we'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And if there's anything that we missed, please add it in the comments as well, so people who are watching the show on the replay can also learn from you. So with that, we are going to sign off for our show today. And we're glad
I'm checking.
Yep. And we're glad that you guys have been able to join in. And this is the third time we're doing the otoscopic inspection, just to make sure that nothing is left behind. Everything looks good. Okay. All right. And so we are going to sign off for today, and we will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.